Every curse of Medusa's tragic life explained. The gamer perspective. In God of War 2, Kratos rips Medusa's head from her shoulders and weaponizes her petrifying gaze against waves of undead legionnaires, a brutal power-up in a game about divine revenge. But here's what the boss fight doesn't tell you. Medusa wasn't always a monster. She was a priestess, a stunning mortal woman, and her transformation into the snake-haired Gorgon wasn't a curse born from evil. It was divine punishment for being a victim. Her story is a nightmare, a mythological crime scene where gods behave like tyrants, and the only woman who suffers is the one who did nothing wrong. The priestess, the true origin. The problem is, there are two completely different versions of Medusa's origin, and which one you believe totally changes whether she's a primordial terror or a tragic victim. Curse number 1, the curse of fate. In Hesiod's Theogony, written around 700 BCE, Medusa is born monstrous. She's one of 3 Gorgon sisters, Stheno, Euryale, and Medusa, daughters of the ancient sea gods Phorcys and Ceto, who were themselves children of Gaia and Pontus. These aren't Olympian gods. These are ancient underground monsters, primal forces that existed before Zeus ever threw his first lightning bolt. In this version, Medusa doesn't become a monster. She is a monster from birth, a creature of cosmic terror designed to embody the kind of fear that turns men to stone with a single glance. She's not sympathetic. She's not misunderstood. She's the apocalypse given female form, a guardian of the threshold between life and death. The crime, Hesiod versus Ovid. But then Ovid shows up. Ovid, the Roman poet writing in the 1st century CE, nearly 700 years after Hesiod, completely rewrites the entire myth in his Metamorphoses, and this is where Medusa becomes tragic. Curse number 2, the curse of injustice. In Ovid's version, Medusa is a beautiful mortal woman, a virgin priestess serving in the temple of Athena. Poseidon, god of the sea, sees her and becomes obsessed. He corners her inside Athena's sacred temple and assaults her. Medusa, the victim of a rape committed by a god, is then punished by Athena, not for committing a crime, but for having been violated in a holy place. Athena transforms Medusa's beautiful hair into writhing serpents, her skin turns pale and cold, and her gaze becomes a weapon of petrification. This is Roman revisionism, or basically totally rewriting the story, and it matters. Ovid is totally rewriting a Greek monster myth through a Roman lens, injecting tragedy and victimhood into a story that originally had none. The shift is massive. Medusa goes from being a creature of primordial chaos to a woman destroyed by the cruelty of gods. And this version, the tragic version, is the one that dominates modern pop culture. It's the version we see in Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where Medusa, called Ligeia, is a tortured figure trapped in a cursed existence. It's the version that makes her sympathetic, that turns the Perseus myth into an assassination rather than a heroic monster slaying. The curse, the transformation. Curse number 3, the physical curse. But let's talk about what the curse actually does, because it's more horrifying than just snake hair. The transformation strips Medusa of her humanity in stages. Her hair, once her crowning beauty, becomes a nest of venomous serpents, living, hissing extensions of her rage and grief. Her face, which men once desired, becomes a weapon so powerful that direct eye contact turns flesh to stone in seconds. But the physical change was only the start. What she lost next was worse. The exile, isolation. Curse number 4, the curse of isolation. But the real horror isn't the physical transformation, it's the psychological isolation. Medusa can never be seen again. She can never be touched, never be loved, never be comforted. She is exiled to the edge of the world, to a remote island littered with the stone corpses of those who wandered too close. The curse doesn't just make her monstrous, it makes her alone. And yet, strangely, her image becomes protective. The Greeks called her severed head the Gorgon, and they plastered it everywhere. On shields, temple doors, pottery, armor. This is apotropaic magic, or basically, using fear to ward off evil. The logic is simple. If Medusa's face can turn threats to stone, then her image can protect you from harm. Athena herself mounts the Gorgon on her aegis, the divine shield. The monster becomes the protector. The victim becomes the weapon. Medusa's face, in death, defends the very civilization that destroyed her. The execution, Perseus and the birth. Curse number 5, the curse of body horror. But she doesn't die quietly. Perseus, son of Zeus, is sent to kill her as part of a twisted scheme involving a tyrant king and an impossible task. The myth is famous, but the details are what make it cool. Perseus doesn't just walk up and stab her. He's equipped with divine cheat codes. Hades gives him the Helm of Darkness, which grants invisibility. Hermes provides winged sandals for flight. Athena gives him a polished bronze shield, mirror bright, so he can view Medusa's reflection without meeting her gaze. Perseus approaches her while she sleeps, watches her reflection in the shield, and decapitates her in a single stroke. And then something impossible happens. From Medusa's severed neck, 2 creatures are born: Pegasus, the divine winged horse, and Chrysaor, a giant wielding a golden sword. These aren't her children in the traditional sense. They're the offspring of Poseidon, conceived during the assault in Athena's temple, but trapped inside Medusa's body until the moment of her death. Her blood becomes their birth canal. Her execution becomes their liberation. It's mythological body horror, and it reveals something essential. Medusa was never just a monster. She was a prison, a cursed womb carrying the consequences of divine violence. And even after she dies, the curses keep multiplying. The blood, the secret power. Curse number 6, the biological curse. But the blood itself, that's where the myth gets weird. Later, ancient sources suggest Medusa's blood has opposite properties depending on which side of her body it's drawn from. Blood from the left side of her body is a deadly poison, capable of killing anything it touches. Blood from the right side is a cure, a medicine so powerful it can bring the dead back to life. Asclepius, the god of medicine, receives vials of this blood from Athena and uses it to resurrect the dead, until Zeus strikes him down with a lightning bolt for violating the natural order. Medusa's blood, even in death, is a weird mix of medicine and poison. It kills and it heals, it destroys and it restores. And it doesn't stop there. As Perseus flies across North Africa carrying Medusa's severed head, drops of her blood fall into the desert sands. Where they land, venomous serpents spring into existence. This is the mythological origin of Libya's deadly vipers. Other drops fall into the ocean, and according to Ovid, they harden instantly into red coral, which the Greeks believed was Medusa's petrified blood. Even in death, even dismembered, Medusa continues to generate life, continues to transform the world around her. She's a force of nature, a biological weapon, a goddess of twisted power. The psychology, from Freud to Versace. Curse number 7. The curse of legacy. But Medusa's influence doesn't stop at mythology and biology. She invades psychology, philosophy, fashion, and even psychoanalysis. Her face becomes a screen people project onto fear, desire, power. In 1922, Sigmund Freud published one of his most controversial interpretations, arguing that the Gorgon's head represented male fear of losing power, the terror of the female body, of feminine power, of what men cannot control or understand. For Freud, the serpents weren't just snakes, they were symbols multiplied and made monstrous, turning male fear into stone. His reading is extremely Freudian, and modern scholars debate whether he's right, but it reveals something important. Medusa has always been about looking, about what happens when you confront something you're not supposed to see. Fast forward to 1975, and French feminist philosopher Hélène Cixous publishes The Laugh of the Medusa, one of the most influential feminist essays of the 20th century. Sixu flips the script entirely. She argues that Medusa isn't monstrous at all. She's beautiful, powerful, and laughing. The petrification, Sixu suggests, isn't Medusa's weapon. It's men's reaction to female power they cannot comprehend. The feminist take on Medusa reframes her from victim and monster into a symbol of female rage, independence, and the refusal to be silenced. And then there's Versace. In 1978, fashion designer Gianni Versace chose Medusa as the logo for his luxury brand, placing her face at the center of one of the most recognizable symbols in global fashion. When asked why, Versace explained, "Medusa means seduction. Anyone who falls in love with her can never turn back." The Versace Medusa isn't a monster. She's glamorous, commanding, hypnotic. She's power you want to possess, even if it destroys you. But here's where it gets archaeological. Some scholars argue that the Gorgon face predates the Greek story of Medusa entirely. One theory suggests the Gorgonian wasn't originally a woman at all, but a solar mask or a stylized lion face used by pre-Greek cultures as a protective device. Lions, after all, were symbols of divine power in Near Eastern religions, and their roaring faces were carved into temple doors to scare away evil forces. If this theory is correct, then Medusa's face is older than Medusa herself, a primordial symbol of protection that predates the tragic narrative we know today. The legacy. Her head becomes Perseus's ultimate weapon. He uses it to petrify the Titan Atlas, turning him into the mountain range that bears his name. He uses it to save Andromeda from a sea monster, turning the beast to stone mid-attack. And finally, he presents it to Athena, who mounts it on her aegis permanently, making Medusa's protective power eternal. Think about that. The goddess who cursed Medusa now wears her face as armor. Medusa's legacy isn't just about snake hair and stone statues, it's about duality. She's simultaneously victim and villain, monster and protector, cursed and sacred. In modern interpretations, from God of War to Assassin's Creed to contemporary feminist readings, she's reclaimed as a symbol of survival, a woman punished for a crime committed against her, whose monstrous transformation becomes a form of power. She's the only Gorgon who was mortal, the only one who could die. And yet, she's the only one we remember. Stheno and Euryale, her immortal sisters, fade into obscurity. But Medusa, her face is still on shields, still on museum walls, still in video games and graphic novels and retellings. She's the monster who refuses to be forgotten, the victim who became myth. Medusa wasn't cursed once. She was cursed repeatedly by gods, by poets, by history itself. But every curse also made her more powerful, more iconic, more impossible to erase. The tragic priestess became the ultimate symbol, and her story remains one of the most enduring in all of mythology. If this deep dive into mythological horror fascinated you, make sure to like and subscribe for more breakdowns where ancient myths meet modern gaming.